Hi everybody. I know you're going to make a mistake when you're coding your PHP. Everybody does. Probably your first mistake you're going to make is you're going to code too much before you look for your mistakes. When you do that, you have a lot of code to look through. So remember, you code a little bit, check to make sure it works. Code a little bit, check to make sure it works. Actually, we have two goals in programming. One, we code for perfection. Two, we code little pieces at a time. Okay? Otherwise, you're never going to find your mistakes. But let's do what's called a code walkthrough, where we're going to pretend that we're the computer. It actually really helps you understand how the computer works and makes you think a lot of times before you code it, because once you get used to the process, okay, it'll go smoother. All right? So what we have is we've got this program, and what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to tell us, given this net ID, is this person a student or an advisor? Okay? And what we have is we don't have a list of students, but we have a list of advisors, and all we have to do is look to see, is this person in the list of advisors? If they are, they're an advisor. If they're not in the list, they're a student. Okay? And we can see when we run the code right at the moment, it says L. Dion is a student. L. Dion 2 is not a student. L. Dion is an advisor. Okay? So we have our code here, and what we want to do is we're going to kind of do what's called the structured walkthrough. So for the most part, it's basic HTML, but we come in here and we include getArrays.php. And what I've done is I've kind of removed how do we get that advisor array, okay? And that's what that actually does for us. Is there's a little function in there that produces that faculty advisor array. All right. So coming down through, so we've got this array that has something in it, and we have who is this net ID L. Dion 2 advisor list is equal to faculty advisors true. Faculty advisors is a function in getArrays. Okay. So one of the things we can probably do, our first step is since we really don't know is L. Dion 2 actually in the array or not, we can probably pop in a little print R statement to print out the advisor list array. Okay, so I'm going to take this code right here, and I like to give myself a little bit of a comment that says, here's the array. I probably put here's the advisor array, and then print underscore R to actually print it out, and then printing it out in the pre-tags just so I could read it. And then I almost always print end, so I know, like, yes, it begins, it ends, and my array's in the middle. Okay, we can do that. And I'm going to just look at that code, and we can see that L. Dion 2 is definitely in that array. But the computer is still, our code is still saying that L. Dion 2 is a student. Okay? So what I want to do is to pretend that where the computer is, I'm taking all of the variables, and I'm making them little boxes, and I've done that on the whiteboard. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and go to the whiteboard, and we're going to walk through this code manually. Okay? So let's go over to that whiteboard and do just that. Okay, so now we have our code right here, and what we want to do is we want to kind of go through, and I've got all these little boxes in memory, because that's what variables are. We can't see them, but they're there anyway. All right, so the first thing we have is we have who is this net ID, all right, and we're going to put L. Dion 2 right there. So that's what's in that box. None of these other boxes actually exist yet, but they will soon. The advisor list is equal to the faculty advisors. And so the advisor list was J.L. Horton, L. Dion 2, R. Eric So. Okay? So Jackie, Lisa, and me. All right? Now we have the advisor ID is equal to nothing, so it's equal to nothing. We have our for each loop, all right? And so our for each loop says for each advisor list as advisor. So in this loop right here, we're going to go through the advisor list array, so we have this advisor. So the first time we go through the loop, we're pointing to J.L. Horton, so advisor is J.L. Horton, okay? And it says if who is this net ID is equal to advisor. Are they equal? No, they are not. So we'll do the else. So the student ID is equal to LD on 2. Okay. The net ID role is equal to student. And the advisor ID is equal to nothing. So it's equal to nothing twice, still equal to nothing. All right? And then we loop again. So the for each loop, it comes down and then it loops back up. So we have to move the pointer. So the pointer is no longer on JL Horton. The pointer is now on LD on 2. All right, so that means advisor has LD on 2 in it. No longer Jackie. I guess I should cross off the ones it's no longer equal to. All right. And it says if who is net ID is equal to advisor. Oh, look, they're equal to each other. So then we have advisor ID is equal to LD on 2. No longer equal to nothing. Net ID role equals advisor, so it's not equal to student. It's equal to advisor. The student ID is not equal to LD on 2. It's equal to nothing, and we'll use that little minus sign as nothing. And then we go back up, and we continue to go through our for each loop. So now it's pointed to RRXO. So advisor list as advisor, so it's no longer, the advisor is no longer LD on 2. The advisor is RRXO. All right. And if who is net ID is equal to advisor, well, it's not. So the student ID is equal to the who is net ID. So it's not equal to nothing anymore. It's equal to LD on 2. Okay. The net ID role is equal to student. So it's not equal to advisor anymore. It's equal to a student. The advisor ID is equal to nothing. We come back up. We move our pointer. It's now done. So we drop out of that. And then we print who is this net ID, LD on 2, is a net ID role a student. So you see what happened? It's because we had the if-else statement in there. It actually worked at this point. And it would work if LD on 2 was the last one on the list, but it doesn't work when they're in the middle. So our logic is wrong. So we need to fix our code. Okay? So let's come back and take a peek at our code here. All right? All right. As we look at our code, we just went through the structured code walkthrough and we saw that it wasn't working. And we can also do something similar by adding a lot of print statements to our code. Like we can print our variables out if we want to actually see, like, was our structured walkthrough, did we have the right values and all of those? So I'm printing out, here's my array, here's my advisor ID. I'm printing the advisor every time I go through my loop. I'm printing, is it equal to, or if who is equal to this person, then print equals, else print not equals. So we can kind of see how that works, and we can kind of prove to ourselves that yes, indeed, our structured walkthrough did work because we had the advisor J Horton's not equal to LD on is equal, advisor RRXO is not equal, and in the end, LD on is considered a student instead of an advisor. Okay? But let's see if we can't fix this code. Oops, I got the code right here. And so what seems to be the problem, and I'm going to kind of cheat because I'm going to make sure I look at my fix to make sure I do exactly the same thing twice. Because one of the things you'll learn is you almost never code something the same way twice. All right. So we realize that this else is something doesn't work right. Okay? So we want to get rid of the else statement. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab everything in the else statement and cut it. We're just going to take it out. We're only going to do an if statement. Even though when we talked about it, we said if they're an advisor, okay, if they're in the advisor list, they're an advisor, else they're a student. What we're going to do instead of the if-else is how it sounded like we should do it, is we're going to default it, okay? And so we've already got advisor ID equals nothing, so I'm just going to paste what I cut. I'm going to choose source format, so it all lines up. And so what I did is I took student ID is equal to who is this net ID, and net ID role is equal to student, and I've taken it out of the if statement. Okay? And so now I have it so that I default them to a student, and then we go through it to see if it's working. Okay? Why don't we do a structured walkthrough just to make sure that that's going to work right. Okay? So let's try it again. Okay? So let's come over. All right. So let's try our new design to see if it's going to work right. Okay? We still have the same advisor list. We still have the same who is net ID. Okay? So now what happens is we have the student ID is equal to who is net ID. Okay, we have the net ID role is equal to a student. The advisor ID is equal to nothing. Now we come into our if block, okay, and for each advisor list as advisor, so that means we're going to start at the first one. So the advisor is going to be J.L. Horton. Okay, if who is net ID is equal to the advisor ID, well, no, they're not, so we just kind of skip that. So we move our pointer, oops, that was equal to nothing. We move our pointer down to L. Dion. And if, which then means this is no longer equal to Jackie, this is equal to L. Dion 2. If who is net ID is equal to advisor, what we want to do then, the advisor ID here is equal to L. Dion. The role is equal to advisor. The student ID is equal to nothing. Okay? And then we kind of go back up and we loop through. We move our pointer down one. And so that means that the advisor is no longer equal to L. Dion. It's R. Eric, R-E-R-I-C-K-S-O. And if who is net ID is equal to R. Eric, so, well, they're not equal, so that we don't do anything. So we go back up to our loop, and boom, we have it. And this time, L. Dion 2 is an advisor because they're not a student. Okay. Now, one of the things we might want to do is maybe we should try to look for somebody who's not in that list. So let's just try that. So let me clear everything out again. Okay, we'll pick, let's see, Natalie Smith. So we have the net ID, Natalie Smith. So let's come through our code and just see how that works. So the who is net ID is equal to Natalie Smith. We have our advisor list is equal to the same. We're going to default Natalie to a student. So the student ID is equal to N. Smith. And of course, you do realize computers are case sensitive. In this example, I just realized that I was not case sensitive, so that would never work. But all right, the net ID role is a student. The advisor ID is equal to nothing. And then we come into our loop, and our loop is for each advisor, so we got to start at the first one. So J.L. Horton. Okay. If N. Smith is equal J.L. Horton, they're not, we skip it. We move our pointer down. That makes the advisor equal to L. Dion 2. We ask the question, if who is this net ID, is that equal to the advisor? They are not equal. Okay, so we just keep moving our pointer down, which changes the advisor variable. If N. Smith equals R. Eric, so they're not equal, so we kind of keep going back through our loop. And we're now done with it, and so we're going to print off N. Smith is a student. So we can kind of see going through the structured walkthrough that our code does work, and of course we can double check that and test that live, and I can kind of swing over here and do that. We get down to the bottom. I've got my fix. This time if we click it and check it out, LD on 2 is an advisor. Okay? So a structured walkthrough is a great way to find mistakes. In this case, it was a logic mistake in our code. Because we can't see what happens inside the computer. We can print a bunch of statements out. But a lot of times you need to think first, code second. So go through a structured walkthrough of your code, and it will help you find your mistakes. Okay? Good luck.